She wakes at 5:47 a.m., 3 minutes before the alarm. She's been doing this for years now, her body trained to beat the sound. The room is dark. Her phone glows on the nightstand. 42 unread emails since midnight. She doesn't open them yet. That comes after coffee. The kitchen is clean because she cleaned it last night at 11:30 p.m. after the strategy call with Singapore, after the presentation revisions. The espresso machine hums. She stands there in the blue light of the pre-dawn, watching the cup fill, and for just a moment, a strange, thin moment, she doesn't know why she's awake. Then the feeling passes. By 6:15, she's reviewing the deck for the 9 a.m. She's good at this. She's always been good at this. Her manager calls her the most reliable person on the team. Her mother says she's living the dream. She has the salary, the title, the apartment with the exposed brick that she saw on Pinterest 7 years ago and promised herself she'd earn. She just doesn't spend much time in it. The commute is 38 minutes. She listens to podcasts about productivity, about leadership, about the habits of people who've built empires from nothing. She takes notes at red lights. The office is glass and white and filled with people who look like they're running from something but would never admit it. They joke about burnout. They send memes about working weekends. On Fridays, someone always says, "We made it," and everyone laughs. But no one sounds happy. She stays late most nights, not because anyone asks her to, but because leaving at 6 feels like giving up. At 8:30 p.m. on a Tuesday in March, she's still at her desk when her phone rings. It's her father. She almost doesn't answer. She has a report due in the morning, but something makes her pick up. He tells her that her grandmother died that afternoon, quietly, in her sleep. The funeral will be Saturday. She says she's sorry. She says she'll be there. She says she has to go. She's in the middle of something. Her father pauses just a beat too long and then says, "Okay." After she hangs up, she sits very still. She thinks about her grandmother. The last time she saw her was Christmas, 14 months ago. She had meant to visit in the spring, then in the summer. Then it was fall, and there was a product launch. And she told herself she'd go after things calmed down. Things never calm down. The funeral is in the town where she grew up. The service is small. At the reception, her aunt hands her a small wooden box. "Your grandmother wanted you to have this," she says. Inside is a bracelet, silver, tarnished. She remembers it. Her grandmother used to wear it every day. She slips it into her purse. On the drive home, she stops at a gas station. While the tank fills, she looks at her phone. 63 new emails. A Slack message from her manager asking if she can jump on a call tomorrow, Sunday, just a quick sync. She replies, "Sure, what time?" And somewhere on the highway, as the sun sets and the sky turns orange, she realizes she hasn't really seen a sunset in years. She's been too busy, or too tired, or too convinced that there would always be another one. Months pass, then a year, then more. She gets promoted, she gets a bigger apartment, she travels for work, London, Tokyo, Austin, Chicago, and sees nothing but conference rooms and hotel bars. She dates someone for a few months. It ends without drama. They both agree they're too busy for a relationship. She turns 37 on a Thursday. She meets a friend for lunch, someone from college she hasn't seen in 2 years. Her friend talks about her kids, about her messy house, about how she never has time to herself. She laughs when she says it, but there's something in her face, something calm, something settled. She talks about her promotion, about the new project she's leading. Her friend says, "That sounds amazing," But there's a moment where their eyes meet and she wonders if her friend can see it. The thing she doesn't say, that she's tired, that she doesn't remember the last time she felt excited about anything, that she wakes up most mornings with her chest tight and her jaw clenched and has to remind herself why she's doing this, and the answers, security, success, respect, feel thinner every time. That night, she scrolls through photos on her phone. There aren't many. She finds one from 5 years ago. She's at a park with friends. She's laughing. She doesn't remember what was funny. She doesn't remember the day at all. She wonders when she stopped laughing like that. She thinks about her grandmother. She thinks about the bracelet, which she put in a drawer and hasn't looked at since the funeral. She gets up, finds it, holds it in her hand. She puts it on. The next morning, she wakes at 5:47, 3 minutes before the alarm. But this time, she doesn't get up. She lies there staring at the ceiling and asks herself a question she's been avoiding for years. What is this for? Not the job, not the success. She knows what those are for. They're for security, for proving that she's capable, that she's valuable, that she's someone who matters. But what is this for? This life, these hours, these days that blur into weeks, that blur into years. What is she building, and for whom? And when does it become something other than a long, elaborate distraction from the fact that she's running out of time? Because that's what she's been doing. She's been running, not towards something, away from something, away from the quiet, away from the stillness, away from the thought that maybe if she stops, if she sits down, she'll realize how much of her life has already passed, how much of it she wasn't really there for. She's 41 when her father has a stroke. He survives, but barely. She takes a week off and sits by his hospital bed. He sleeps most of the time, but once he looks at her and says, "You work too much." She tries to laugh it off. "You sound like Mom." He doesn't laugh. "I don't want you to miss it." She asks what he means. He closes his eyes. "Your life," he says. She sits with that. She doesn't argue. She just sits there in the hum of the machines and feels the truth of it settle into her bones. She's been missing it, not because she's been absent. She's been there, physically. But presence isn't the same as being there. Presence is attention. Presence is the willingness to be in the moment fully without reaching for the next thing, without using productivity as a shield against the unbearable fact that this moment right now is all there is, and she hasn't been present in years. She goes back to work. She tells herself things will be different, and for a few weeks they are. But then a deadline comes, then a crisis, then someone else drops the ball, and she's the one who picks it up because that's what she does. Except maybe it's not. Maybe it's who she became because she was afraid of who she'd be if she stopped. On a Sunday in October, she drives to the coast. She doesn't tell anyone. She just gets in her car and drives. She parks near a beach she used to go to as a kid and walks down to the water. She sits on the sand and tries to remember the last time she did something just because she wanted to. Not because it was productive, not because it would look good or impress someone, just because she wanted to. She can't remember. She thinks about all the things she told herself she'd do later, after the promotion, after the next project, after she saved enough, earned enough, proved enough. She'd travel, she'd take that photography class, she'd call her brother more, she'd fall in love with someone who actually knew her. Later never came. Later was a door she kept walking toward, and every time she got close, it moved. She sits there until the sun starts to set, and this time she watches. She doesn't take a picture. She just watches. The sky turns pink, then orange, then purple. and for the first time in longer than she can remember, she feels something other than tired. She feels sad, not the dull, distant sadness she's been carrying for years, but a sharp, clean sadness, the kind that comes from seeing clearly, from understanding what's been lost, from realizing that all the things she was chasing were never going to fill the hollow space inside her. Because that space wasn't empty because she hadn't achieved enough. It was empty because she stopped living. She traded her life for the idea of a life. And the trade was so gradual, so reasonable, so well rewarded that she didn't even notice until now. She drives home in the dark. And when she gets back to her apartment, she sits on her couch and looks around at the furniture she barely uses, at the art she bought because it matched the aesthetic she wanted, not because it meant anything to her, at the space she worked so hard to earn, which has never once felt like home. She takes out her phone, she opens her email, she scrolls through the unanswered messages, the unfinished tasks, the endless requests for her time, and then she closes it. She doesn't delete anything. She doesn't quit. She just closes it and she sits there in the quiet and lets herself feel the weight of her own life. She's 43 when she finally understands death isn't something that happens at the end. It's something that happens slowly in pieces every time you say yes to things that don't matter and no to things that do. Every time you choose productivity over presence. Every time you defer your life because you're too busy managing it. She doesn't quit her job. She doesn't make any dramatic changes that other people would notice. She just starts showing up differently. She leaves work at 6. She calls her brother on Wednesdays. She visits her parents once a month. She takes the photography class. She goes to the coast again and starts to remember what it feels like to want something just for herself. And slowly, quietly, she starts to feel less empty, not because her life got bigger, but because she started living it. She's 47 when her father dies. She's there when it happens. She holds his hand. She tells him she loves him. At the funeral, her brother pulls her aside. "I'm glad you were here," he says, "for all of it, not just today, the last few years." The years after that are quieter, not easier, but quieter. She still works, she still has ambitions, but they're different now, smaller, more specific. She wants to be good at what she does, but she doesn't want it to be all she does. She's 52 when she finds old journals from her 20s, page after page of plans, goals, dreams. And underneath it all, a question she asked herself over and over: when will it be enough? She never answered it because the answer was never. As long as she was chasing, it would never be enough. The finish line kept moving because she kept moving it, because stopping felt like dying. And in a way, it was. Not the end of her life, but the end of the story she'd been telling herself about who she had to be in order to deserve her life. She thinks about her grandmother's bracelet, which she still wears. She thinks about her father's hand in hers. She thinks about all the sunsets she missed and the ones she didn't. And she realizes something. She was never going to outrun it. Death is patient. It doesn't need to chase us. It just waits. And while we run, while we build and strive and prove and earn, it sits quietly at the end of every road, and it watches us trade our presence for our progress, our lives for our legacies, our now for our next. And one day we stop running, not because we've arrived, but because there's nowhere left to go. And when we finally turn around to see what we've been running from, we realize it was never death we were afraid of. It was life. The unbearable, beautiful, fleeting fact of it, the way it demands our attention, the way it asks us to be here fully without distraction, the way it refuses to wait until we're ready. She still wakes early, but not at 5:47, at 6:30, sometimes 7. She makes coffee slowly. She sits by the window and watches the light change. She has less than she thought she'd have by now. Less money, less status, less proof that she mattered. But she has more presence, more quiet, more moments where she's actually here. And on the good days, that feels like enough. She wears the bracelet every day. It's tarnished beyond saving. She likes it this way, a reminder that beautiful things decay, that nothing lasts, that the only thing we ever really have is this, right now, right here, and the choice to be in it or to keep running toward a finish line that doesn't exist. She chose to stop running, not because she stopped being afraid, but because she realized the thing she was running toward would never love her back.